Kimurahau, agrama tapala. I probably absolutely butchered that pronunciation. I am sorry to my ancestors, but hello pals. My hair is an absolute mess, but that is not the topic of today's discussion. Today, I want to talk to you about one of my favourite pieces of Scottish archaeology, and her name be the Ballachulish Figure. Ballachulish, I dinna ken. It's a bit dark, I'm sorry, it's past 4:30 in the afternoon, so it's now pitch black outside, so you're going to have to deal with this. I know it doesn't look the best, but can't do much about it. Sorry, I can't make the sun come back up. See, I have a little soft spot for ancient art, mainly being figurines and statues, obviously. So this gal is perfect for me. Plus, she's Scottish, and she's gorgeous. Or at least to me she is, alright? I first came across her during my undergrad at uni. Well, actually, it was when I was wee, but I didn't actually know what she was. Because she's in the National Museum. But in my undergrad at uni, I would go in the museum on like my lunch breaks, and I'd go sit and study in the museum, and there she be in all of her beautiful glory. And we became best pals. I'd go and visit her every day. That sounds really weird, but it's true. Most of the research I've done for you today does actually come from the National Museum of Scotland, because that's where she's lived for the past God knows how long. But just to establish my authority and put your mind at ease, I am actually an archaeology and ancient history graduate who's currently doing her masters in classical art and archaeology, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. However, I am no expert, so if at any point you feel like you are more knowledgeable in the subject area, please just tell me. If I'm wrong, I would much rather be corrected than be accused of spreading misinformation, so please feel free to correct me if you know the right answer. Only if you know the right answer, thanking you. But I do actually really appreciate when people correct me. I'm not offended in the slightest. I would much rather you correct me than let me live on in ignorance, so please do. And that goes for all of my archaeology based videos. I just like to reiterate this every single time as a disclaimer, because I don't want anybody to shout at me. Thank you very much. And also, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to raise your hand politely in the comments section, and I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. Just because I want to try plugging this a little bit more. If you're maybe too shy or you're not comfortable posting directly in the public comments for everybody to see, feel free to pop on into my Discord. I shall leave the link down below, where there's a whole channel dedicated to archaeology, ancient history, all that kind of things. Just so if you feel more comfortable asking your question in a more closed off space rather than in front of absolutely anybody ever, pop in and say hello. So let's start off with a kind of overall overview of my beautiful lady, the Ballachulish Figure. She's a life-size-ish alderwood carving of a female figure with quartzite stone eyes set into her face. Various methods of dating have placed her somewhere within 730 to 520 BC. So she's roughly late Bronze Age, early Iron Age, Britain-ish, which makes her over 2,500 years old. She's an old lady, what can I say? She's thought to be a carving of a young girl, mainly because she's just under 5 foot tall, she's pretty much hairless, and certain carved anatomy is what indicates that she is a lady. We think she was maybe in the carving holding objects in her hands, but we can't actually tell what they are anymore. Before we talk about her symbolism, I want to tell you a bit about the context in which she was found, because bit dodgy. She was found in November of 1880 in Ballachulish, or Ballachulish, I don't know how you say it, but in Lochaber in Scotland. Hey, Scottish lasses for the win. She was found face down in a peat bog. Everybody's favourite peat bogs. We've discussed them before on this here channel, haven't we? Maybe that was an accidental factor of her deposition. Maybe it was on purpose. There's many theories about that, but we'll get into that a wee bit later. Because she was found in the 1880s, of course, her excavation is a wee bit problematic. At that time in archaeology, there was no method for preserving any sort of waterlogged organic materials. So they dried her out. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Nowadays, what you would do if she was discovered now, bless her wee soul, if you find something that is waterlogged in water, don't take it out the water and let it dry out. You would take it out and put it in more water. Or just like scoop a bunch of that water into a bucket and then manoeuvre, if you know what I mean. You would not take it out the water and certainly not let it dry out like that. Because of that, the big block at her feet broke off. Then a huge chunk of her body and her face also snapped off. And that was all within the 2 weeks of going from excavation to the museum. And then she stayed in the museum ever since. Cue little me being God knows what age, very, very young, very, very small. Going to the museum, seeing her in all of her glory. She looks gorgeous in the museum. But I thought she looked pretty scary at the time, not gonna lie. But it's fine, because now we're besties, and she's forgiven me for that. So she's had a bit of a rough time in her life, she really has. I actually noticed as well, in one of my favourite ever places, the Scottish Crannog Centre, right? I want to do a whole video separate about the Crannog Centre, because I absolutely adore the Crannog Centre. Unfortunately, the Crannog recently burnt down and they're raising money to rebuild it. But that's by the by, I'll get into that in another video another time. When I last went to the Crannog Centre, I noticed that they had a reconstruction of her. Like, she was just sat in the corner and everybody was just walking on by it in the wee museum that they have, and I was like, everybody stop. This is my lady. She's here. She's reincarnated. She looks beautiful. That's what she should look like. So, now that I've given you the description and the context of her poor excavation, my poor lady, what does she actually mean? What does she symbolise? What's going on here? Too long, didn't read the whole situation. We have no idea. End of. Roll the credits, that's it. Thank you, good night. But of course, as always with archaeologists, there are theories. Lots of them. The most popular idea is that she's some sort of goddess. To put it into archaeological terms, some sort of ritual significance. There have been other such figures, kind of, found in Britain, marking crossways and roads, overlooking springs, certain trackways and stuff. Things that are like significant landscape changes. There are sometimes similar figures found overlooking them. So our Ballachulish figure is considered to be perhaps a goddess of the straits. Where she would have stood at the time would have overlooked the straits connecting Loch Leven to the sea. So they thought she was maybe some sort of goddess that you had to give offerings to or offer blessings, something like that, before you could safely cross the straits. So maybe a goddess, maybe some sort of just supernatural being in charge of that bit of the water, maybe. She could also be some sort of important societal figure, or maybe it's a memorial to someone, like maybe a wee girl who's drowned in the straits. There was remains, I think, of a wooden structure near or around her, and that's been described as maybe some sort of shrine. Even though I'm saying it could be a memorial, there's no bones found nearby, by the way. So she's not a grave marker unless the bones just haven't survived in the soil. I don't know what the soil's like there. Could be too acidic for bones. I don't know. Usually Scottish soil is too acidic for bones to survive, so that would make sense. But another explanation is that she is a fertility goddess.
That shit pisses me off a lot.
And here's my issue with that, right? This is going to be a wee tangent, but I'll try and make it quick, I promise. In archaeology as a whole, right, as soon as they find something related to females, they always deem it either domestic use or fertility goddess. Like, a goddess can't be anything else except a fertility goddess, or a mother goddess, or a domestic goddess. Basically just the idea that old archaeologists, founding archaeologists had, that was the same male and female ideas and separations that existed in the modern world existed in the past. And I hate that, because it's like, no, the same thing did not go on. We know this. There is evidence directly against what you were saying, depending on where you're looking in the world. Because we don't know that she was a fertility goddess. She could have been a warrior goddess for all we know. There's plenty of them, especially in Scotland. It grinds my gears, man. It honestly winds me up to high heaven. Alas, I digress. That's not today's topic. Back to the Ballachulish figure. She could have been a warrior goddess. She could have been a fertility goddess. I'll accept goddess of the water. I much prefer that idea. She could have been a goddess of anything. There was no need for them to use the F word. Theories have also been put forth about her actual deposition, like I was mentioning earlier. Remember the Lindo man that we talked about a few archaeological episodes ago?
2,000-year-old body found in England. He was found strangled, head bashed in, throat cut, threefold death. They also found pollen grains in his stomach. Guess what favorite druid plant that was?
Mistletoe.
Did I construct this entire video around that one clip from Teen Wolf? No, absolutely not. But Styles does sum him up pretty well. He's one of the many examples of British bog bodies. You can go and watch that video if you want to hear more about them. I don't really want to give you a recap now. I will also be making a generalised bog bodies video at some point in the future. I just wanted to space out on my bog bodies, to be honest, so I've not done it yet. Cheers. Some scholars have suggested that our girl was deposited face down intentionally to try and mimic these bog bodies, which are also found in peat bogs. But this, of course, is merely a theory. We don't even know why the bog bodies were deposited in the way that they were. With the Lindo man, he could have been a criminal that had been executed. He could have been ritually deposited as some sort of sacrifice. That could have just been his preferred method of burial after he'd died. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know anything. It's so good. We absolutely know zilch. But all of this is merely a theory. In conclusion to all of this, I love the Ballachulish figure. She's heckin' cool, and also, I forgot to mention, she is entirely unique to Scotland. Although there's other figurines similar that mark trackways and stuff like I was mentioning earlier, they're not the same. They don't look the same. They don't sound the same. They're just not, okay? She is entirely unique to Scotland, and I don't actually think any other similar examples have even been found in Scotland. I think it's just her on a retod. We have no idea who or what she represents, and we probably won't unless we ever find another very similar statue somewhere else in Scotland, but also soils and that in Scotland, not the best for preservation, but you never know, one day something could turn up. I would certainly love the idea of her not being alone in that big old museum by herself anymore. Get her a wee pal to go and sit next to her in her wee case. Oh, I love her so much. I don't know why. It's just one of the things, I just looked at her, felt bond, they were besties. But now I want to throw it back to yous. What do yous think? After looking at this very brief rundown, what do you think she signified? Who do you think she was? Do you think she was a real person? Do you think she was a goddess? Or do you just think it was a random sculptor who one day thought, I just want to try sculpt my pal for some practice? We don't know. It very well could be. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I will leave links to where I got my information from in the description box below, along with all the links to my social medias, my Discord that I mentioned earlier, and my Twitch channel. I stream on Twitch twice, if not 3 times a week. I do try and make it 3. Leave a like if you liked it. Don't hit the dislike button if you didn't, because that's kind of mean. And let me know your theories in the comments, or any questions. If you'd like some further reading, I can find some and supply to you if you would like. Don't forget to subscribe, please. But thank you so much for watching. I have been Rianne. This has been the Ballachulish figure, my bestie, my one true love. See you next Tuesday.